Hello from Beit and thank you for joining me in the study of Parashat Vayakhel-Pekudei, the last parsha in our book in Sefer Shmot. So it's mamash, it's like chazak v'nitchazek. We should all be strong and even stronger to continue to learn and to study. So today I would like to discuss with you a strange donation. And what do I mean by that? The Torah states, והנשיאים הביאו, and the president of the tribes, הביאו את אבני השוהם, special stones, jewelry, diamonds, ואת אבני המילואים לאפוד ולחושן. So they brought these precious stones for the breastplate, the חושן. ואת הבושם, some kind of perfume, ואת השמן למאור, and the oil to kindle the menorah, ולשמן המשחה, ולקטור את הסמים. So precious items. And the questions that we need to ask when we see such a verse are the following. First, why does the Torah mention that the president of the tribes brought it now? It should say it earlier, A, when we build the Mishkan, and B, the fact that they are mentioned not by name but by position, והנשיאים, and the head of the tribes brought, it's come probably to teach us something. The second question is that how exactly this president of those tribes that came from Egypt, exactly like all the other Jews in Am Yisrael, had access to such precious stones, jewelry, diamonds, and this specific oil. Where exactly did they get it from? So let's see what the commentators has to say about it. Says Rashi, Rab Shlomo Yitzchaki, 11th century in France, says the following, Amar Rabbi Natan, he quotes a midrash, Amar Rabbi Natan, מה ראו הנשיאים להתנדב בחנוכת המזבח בתחילה, ובמלאכת המשכן לא התנדבו בתחילה. So, Rabbi Natan asked the same question that we asked, the first question, which is, why here? When they built the Mishkan, when Moshe started collecting donations to build the tabernacle, we don't have any verse that says, oh, and the president of the tribes brought all the donations. Nothing. They're not even mentioned. But here, when it comes to the dedication of the altar and the Mishkan, oh, they are the first one to come. And that's exactly the question we ask, and that's the question that Rabbi Natan asked. But he provides an answer. אלא כך אמרו הנשיאים. But rather, that's what the presidents of the tribes said. התנדבו ציבור מה שמתנדבים, ומה שמחסרים אנו משלימים אותו. So when the first time, when Moshe commanded the Jewish people to bring donation, to build the tabernacle, the presidents, they stood aside. They said, you know what? Let the people bring, and whatever is missing, as we say in Hebrew, alai, on me. I will fill it up. We will cover it all. Now, it sounds nice, maybe even altruistic. Let the people participate, and we, the wealthy people, we will just wait and see, and if there is something missing, we will obviously pay for it. The problem was, which was really not a problem, is, כיוון שהשלימו ציבור את הכל שנאמר והמלאכה הייתה דיים, אמרו נשיאים, מה עלינו לעשות? But, to their surprise, Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel, responded very generously. Nothing was missing. The Jewish people covered it all. So now, you have the presidents of the tribes, and they did not bring a thing. So what did they say? Okay, next time, when we have an opportunity to give, we are not waiting for anyone. לכך התנדבו בחנוכת המזבח תחילה. And this is why they were the first one to volunteer to donate when it was the time for the dedication of the Mizbeach, and they needed some jewelry and stones, so they were the first one to give it. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Says Rabbi Natan, ולפי שנתעצלו מתחילה, נחסרה אות משמם, והנשיאים כתיב. So Rabbi Natan says, they were punished. If you look, we will go back to the verse. The first word in the verse is והנשיאים, Vav, Hey, Nun, Shin, which is a sin, Aleph, Mem, really in Hebrew you should write another yud, the letter yud, after the aleph. But here, the Torah take one yud and basically omit it from their name, so you will see that something is missing in them. So let's hold on here. Let's do a quick summary. So the president of the tribe says, okay, this is an opportunity for donation. Let's just give the opportunity to the people, and whatever is missing, we will cover. Outcome? The people covered it all. So the presidents basically said, the second opportunity we will have to give, we will be the first one to give. If I will just tell you that, I think that we will all say, okay, maybe it was a nice thing to do even, to allow others to do it, and then to volunteer the second time. The Midrash see that there is a problem here. Laziness. ולפי שנתעצלו מתחילה, נחסרה אות משמם. The first time that there was an opportunity to give, and they decided just to stand aside and to allow Am Yisrael to do it, that was laziness. Now, what kind of laziness? Not laziness to go to the bank and to get the money. This is not the issue. The thing is that as presidents of the tribes, as leaders, you need to teach by example. Don't stand aside and allow others to do it. Give. The first opportunity you have to give. Just maybe don't give a lot and cover it all and allow others to do it, but participate. Don't stand aloof and say, okay, the others will do it. It doesn't work. Because maybe some people who saw that the leaders themselves don't give, they will say, why should we give? Alternatively, if you are the leaders, you need to lead, and if you don't, the others will basically do the right thing without you. So what's the point in you being a leader? Basically what Rabbi Natan says, and that's what Rashi quotes, is that the Nesim are teaching us what not to do. God was not impressed by the fact that they brought those precious stones to the dedication of the Mizbeach. It was very nice of them. But they were punished for not bringing with the entire people. And I think that there is another component to it. When you are a leader and you need to lead, you are not separate from your nation. You are part of them. And when you stand aside and let the people do, that's not leadership. That's some kind of feelings of superiority. Let them do it and we will cover it. We will cover whatever is missing. To your surprise, the people can do it by themselves. Leadership is not to stand aside. You want to encourage the people to give? Give with them. Give exactly what they give. Encourage them to give more. But don't stand aside and don't participate. So, the leaders maybe learned the lesson second time, but they did get punished for the first time. The Ibn Ezra is focusing on our second question, which was how exactly the leaders, the heads of the tribes, had all these precious stones. And he says the following, כי בצאתם ממצרים וניצלום, כל איש שאל כפי מעלתו. He says, if you remember, when Moshe said to the people, go ahead and borrow vessels and gold and silver from your neighbors, he says each Jew basically asked based on his level. So the head of the tribes, even in Egypt, probably were a little bit more elevated than the other people. So when they went to another Egyptian to ask for vessels and things like that, they probably received based on what? On their financial level. So if I'm a leader, even in Egypt, the head of a tribe, I would go probably to a wealthier Egyptian and he will give me more precious things. והנה דבר גדול היה שנמצאו שמן למאור ביד הנשיאים אחר חודשים רבים שיצאו ממצרים. But then he says, רגע, just 1 second. I understand the precious stones, but pure oil? few months after they left Egypt, how can they even contain it? ואחר כן כלל כל איש ואישה, ושב לדבר על אנשים שנשאם ליבם לעשות, והזכיר הראש שכולם מיוסרים אל משמעתו, כי אין בהם חכם כמוהו. So the Ibn Ezra says that basically it's a little hard to explain how exactly they had all the stuff. I mean, you can get some of the precious stones that they borrowed from the Egyptians, maybe even the pure oil, but somehow they were able to maintain everything. And according to the Ibn Ezra, והנשיאים, they were not only the leaders of the tribes, they were also the leaders of everyone who worked for the tabernacle. So the Ibn Ezra does not see any negative thing with the presidents like Rashi. He just was wondering how exactly they got all those precious stones, and he provides an answer. The Bekhor Shor, Rabbi Yosef Bekhor Shor, from the 13th century in France, suggested the following. והנשיאים הביאו את אבני השוהם, and the presidents brought those precious stones, כל אחד אבן אחת לחתום את שבטו. לחתום כל שבטו. ושני אבני שוהם הביאו בין כולם, שיהיו כל השבטים חותמים בהם. Now this is interesting. He suggested that each one of the head of the tribes brought a stone to basically sign and seal his tribe's name in the breastplate. And between all of them, they brought 2 more precious stones that all the tribes will sign on it. Again, no criticism on what they did before. He basically says what they did was to bring the shvatim, the tribes, together. Each tribe got a stone, and you sign and seal his name, but at the same time, all the shvatim, all the tablets, all the tribes are together on the breastplate for the Kohen. Which means, Rabbi Yosef Bekhor Shor suggests that the position or the mission of the head of the tribes were not only to represent their own tribe, but also to try to create the right conditions for all the tribes to come together. The Kli Yakar goes back to the midrash that Rashi quoted in Rabbi Natan's name. And he says, אמרו רבותינו ז"ל, our sages said, לפי שנתרשלו בנדבה זו ולא הביאו נדבתם כי אם לבסוף, על כן נחסר אותיות משמם והנשיאים כתיב, חסר כתיב. So he brings that midrash that we quoted before, that the head of the tribes, the leaders, were mistaken by not bringing donations the first time, and God punished them by taking 1 letter from them. Says the Kli Yakar, כי באמת לא היה להם להמתין עד לבסוף. Because really, truly, they shouldn't wait until the end. כי אולי יתנו ישראל כל הצורך ולא יהיה להם חלק בכל המשכן. He says, their assumption was what? Let the people give, and whatever is missing, we will cover. Which means, what's the basic assumption that the leaders had? Is that the people will not rise to the occasion, and they will not cover it all. Now, they are the head of the tribes. They are the head of the nation. And they basically showed that they don't believe in the nation. The Kli Yakar says, לפי שאמר, מה שנחסר יוד דווקא, and why God took the letter Yud from them, because לפי שאמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, גבה עיניים ורחב לבב, אותו לא אוכל. God says, we have a verse in Tehillim, that God cannot stand people who are pompous, who are arrogant. ואצל הנשיאים הייתה בלי ספק רוח גאווה באומרם דרך התפארות, מי ימלא מה שאנחנו מחסרים. אבל אנחנו ממלאים כל מה שהציבור מחסרים. He says that those head of tribes look at the people, and they are the head of each tribe, and they look at their own tribe and says, my tribe? Oh, they will never bring what is needed. and therefore we will cover it. But if we will bring and we will be missing something, they will not cover it for us. According to the Kli Yakar, it shows that they were very arrogant. And not only very arrogant, I will go a step further and say they totally underestimate their people, which in my opinion reoccurred again in the sin of the spies, the Meraglim. They didn't believe in the people that they are able to do it. And when you are a head of a tribe and when you are a leader and you don't believe in the people that follow you, something is missing, not in them, in you. על כן לקח הקדוש ברוך הוא משמם אות י' כי רק אות זה מן השם הגדול היה חקוק בשמם. ואותו לקח השם מהם לומר אין כאן מקומו. Hashem basically says, I don't want to dwell with you. I'm taking my letter Yud and I'm not interested really to be with you. I think the Kli Yakar opinion and commentary is incredibly insightful, meaningful, and has a tremendous lesson for every leader. First and foremost, you need to believe in your people, and if you don't believe in your people, maybe you shouldn't be their leader. As a leader, you are not supposed to save them. You are supposed to encourage them. You are supposed to inspire them. You're supposed to make them the best people they can be. And don't say, oh, whatever they will be missing, I'll cover it. That's not what God is interested in. A leader is not there because the other people are weak. A good leader is someone who makes everyone else strong and stronger and lead them with strength. We all remember the event at Sefer Bamidbar in the book of Numbers when Moshe basically empowers 70 other people to prophesy, and there are two people who prophesy in the camp, Eldad and Medad. And Joshua comes along to Moshe and says, we need to kill them or we need to throw them into prison because they prophesy without your permission. And Moshe says to Yoshua, what, you are jealous? You are upset for me? I wish that everyone will be a prophet and they don't need me, that God will give them the ability to prophesy. That's a true leader. Moshe Rabbeinu never built himself based on the Jewish people's weakness and faults and deficiencies. He always wanted them to grow. And as a leader, you grow with them. What the Kli Yakar basically highlights is the deficiency that was in the Nesim themselves, the head of the tribes themselves. They were not good leaders. Or they were leaders that didn't understand what leadership means. And therefore, Hashem took the letter Yud from them. Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch suggested another layer in their mistake. And he says, הנשיאים חשבו את הקריאה להתנדבות כל העם לפגיעה בכבוד מעלתם. The first time around, the first time that Moshe collected the donations for the tabernacle and he says it's open for everyone, the Nesim, the head of the tribes, got insulted. Like, we should be approached first. We are the leaders. What does it mean that Moshe just go to the people? So they felt like they are insulted. ובציפייתם שתרומת העם לא תספיק, ואז ייפול בגורלם כבוד השלמת החסר, לא מיהרו להשתתף בהתנדב עם. He says, and their expectation was that the people's donation will not be enough, and then they will come and save the day. They are the honored leaders, and they are going to come, and they are going to bring a big check, and they're going to cover whatever the nation did not bring. And then their honor will be restored. That was their thought. That was their thinking. ואולם זריזות העם הכזיבה את חשבונם. But however, the people surprised them. עד שיצא שנשאר להם להעביר רק את אבני השון לבגדי הכהן הגדול. The only thing that was left was some precious stones that I guess the people just didn't have. If they would bring it. So the only thing that the leaders could bring was just those precious stones. הפגם שנמצא במהלך מחשבה כזה, he says the deficiency, the problem that the leaders had was העמדת עצמם בשעת המפעל הלאומי הנשגב מעל לעם תחת היותם בתוך העם ואחים לנדיבי העם. He says they saw themselves, they viewed themselves as people who are elevated from the people instead of seeing themselves leaders within the people. You have a national project, building the tabernacle, and you stand aside and you said it's beneath me. This is not there is no enough under there for me because everyone else is doing that. That's your problem. That's problem of understanding what is leadership. הפגם הזה מרומז בכתיב הנשיאים החסר, להיות נשיאי העם לא נתקיים בהם באותה שעה. Says Rabbi Shimshon Hirsch, at that moment when they decided not to participate with the people, they were not their leaders anymore. And that's, I think, another deep layer to what the Kli Yakar suggested. And now Rabbi Shimshon Hirsch says, leadership is not to be muram me'am. Yes, you are elevated, you have a position of leadership, but it doesn't mean that you have nothing to do with the nation. Exactly the opposite. Especially when a national project comes along to build a tabernacle, you need to be the first one to give with your people. And that was their mistake. The Chofetz Chaim, Rabbi Israel Meradin, says, בשביל שנתעצלו כמצא התורה אות י'. He says, הנה כאן, here, the Torah took away the letter י' and in a way punished the נשיאים. However, אצל נדבת הנשיאים בפרשת נשוא, העריכה התורה בנדבת כל נשיא בפרשה מיוחדת ולא כללה אותם יחד כי אם נדבותיהם היו שוות. So he said something very interesting, and this is a very interesting question. Says the Chofetz Chaim, I don't understand. He says, here, the Torah is very short and takes the letter Yud from the Nesi'im and just says they brought those precious stones. When you go to Parashat Bamidbar, to Sefer Bamidbar, Book of Numbers, Parashat Naso, this is a long, long parasha that describe that each head of a tribe brought this and that korban, and by the way, identical korban, identical sacrifice. And it's long, 12 of them, each day. Says the Chofetz Chaim, I don't understand. Here in our parasha, the Torah is so condensed, and it's just one sentence, and that's it, and you punish them, and later on, you describe it at length. What's the difference? Says the Chofetz Chaim, כל זה ללמדנו בית, all of that comes to teach us. כמה חביב לקדוש ברוך הוא עניין שבני אדם עושים אותו בחבורה עם הציבור ואינם מתגאים איש על אחיו, אף אין בהם קנאה ותחרות. Says, I'll tell you. Here, the presidents, the head of the tribes, did it as they did it separately from the tzibur, from the community, and B, the donation was done with ga'ava, with being arrogant, and with almost like jealousy in the people that they covered it all. But there, when they brought the korbanot for Chanukat HaMizbeach, they did it for the tzibur. They did it together with the community. And therefore, the Torah will describe it at length. What do we see from here? Obviously, there is space, there is time for individuality. And yes, some people can give less, some people can give more. But giving together, that's what is the most meaningful thing for Hashem. That's where the Torah will describe it at length. Giving together as a tzibur, as a community, as people, as nation. That is a true giving. Because when you give as an individual, there's this feeling that, I save the day. With the tzibur, you are part of everyone. The Torah says in Shmot Lamed Hey, ויבואו כל איש אשר נשאו ליבו וכל אשר נדבה רוחו אותו הביאו את תרומת השם למלאכת אוהל מועד ולכל עבודתו ולבגדי הקודש. So everyone who had this kind of generosity of his heart They brought donation for the tent of meeting and to the priestly vestments. Says Ramban, וטעם אשר נשאו ליבו, meaning the reason for the people with generosity of the heart to bring, לקרבה אל המלאכה, to do the work, כי לא היה בהם שלמד את המלאכות האלה ממלמד, או משאימן בהן ידיו כלל. Because none of them, we are talking about a bunch of slaves, none of them went to a school, went to an art school to learn how to create those precious things in the tabernacle. So, אבל מצא בטבעו שידע לעשות כן. ויגבה ליבו בדרכי השם לבוא לפני משה לאמור לו, אני אעשה כל אשר אדוני דובר. It required a person who is willing to learn, who is willing to do it even though he does not know how to do it or she does not know how to do it, to come in front to Moshe and to say, command me and I'll do it. What's the point here? The people who built the tabernacle, the people who created all those beautiful vessels and utensils in the tabernacle were not trained artists. They were slaves in Egypt. And despite it, they found this generosity in their heart to say, we are willing to try, we are willing to do it. And they were the ones to build the tabernacle. Not the leaders of the tribes, not the presidents, not the honored people. Simple Jews, simple people build the tabernacle. The Or HaChaim says, something that I think we can really take to heart. דע כי יש שתי הדרגות במתנדבים. There are two levels in people who volunteer or donate. אחת הוא מתנדב ברצון נפשו כפי יכולתו וערך ממונו, ולזה יקרא נדבה רוחו. Meaning the first one, the first type of donor is someone who gives it from his own will, based on his capabilities and the value that he has for his money. And that's what it's called nadva rucho, that his spirit encourage him to donate. לשלול שאינו עושה הדבר כמו צער בנפשו. He does it with free will, with happiness, with joy in his heart. He's not doing that in a way that he's forced or that he is becoming sad after he gave. והשני, but the second type of donor, הוא המתנדב יותר מיכולתו. He gives even more than his capabilities. מגודל טוביות ליבו, because his heart is so good. ולזה יקרא נשאו ליבו. Someone that his heart elevated him. פירוש, שהלב מנשאהו ומעריכו בערך עשיר יותר ממה שהוא לתת דבר יקר. The second type of donor, even though based on his capabilities he should give only A, but his heart lifts him up. And he says, you know what? I think I'm wealthier than that. I can give more. ולזה אמר כי בישראל נמצאו שני סוגים הנזכרים. And that's what the Torah says. You have these two type of donors within עם ישראל. ופתח במעולה שבשניהם, ואמר כל איש אשר נשאו ליבו. The Torah began with the second type of donor, a person who is basically his heart lift him up. You can look at yourself and your assets and you say, okay, that's what I can give. And perhaps that's true. But maybe another look, another dig into your finance, you can say, you know what, maybe I can give more. But you need to have your heart to lift you up. ודקדק, כלומר, תיבת איש לשון חשיבות. וכנגד השני אמר, וכל אשר נדבה רוחו, ולא אמר איש, כי אינו חשוב בערך הראשון. The second type, it didn't say men, not men, the gender, just men, language of importance, because he's not as good as the second type of donor. וממוצא הדבר אתה יודע, כי לא היו בכל המתנדבים, אלא שתי הדרגות ושתיהן לשבח. Says the Or HaChaim, there are two types of donors. Both of them should be praised, but one should be praised even more. The one is asher nesa'o libo. Someone that your heart lifted you, elevated you, basically caused you to go outside of your comfort zone in terms of how much I can give or do, and do more. If you really take it to what we saw before with the Ramban, we can basically connect the two opinions together and say, those simple Jews that were slaves a few months ago, their hands were not trained to do something so delicate, something so nice, something so fine and artistic. But when they thought about the commandment to build the tabernacle, and they knew that no one else went to an art school in Egypt, they said, you know what? We will do it. We can do it. כל איש אשר נשאו ליבו, not to give money, לקרבה אל המלאכה, to do the work. Yes, giving donations and financial support is very important, but there's also work that needs to be done. And I think that's what the Or HaChaim says. And I think by thinking about what the Or HaChaim says, I think it's a question that we really need to ask ourselves in everything we do. Do we do what just we need to do, or what we are expected to do? Or we can do more than that. In every area of life. In Torah learning, in tzedakah, in charity, in kindness, with family, with friends, with our nation. Do we do just בנשיאות רוח, בנדיבות רוח, with generosity of spirit, or we do things with the elevation of the heart? This is a hard question to answer, and sometimes you need to do A, sometimes you need to do B, and both of them should be praised. But we also need to sometimes push ourselves, to believe in ourselves even more, to find more strength, לקרבה אל המלאכה, to do the job, to do the work that is expected of us. כל איש אשר נשאו ליבו, every person that his heart gives them the courage, the power, the strength to do even more than you think you can do. Thank you.